of this that has been going on in the world, a lot of us have had to cancel vacations. And that's really, really disappointing. I know we have, and I know I've heard from a lot of you that that is something that you've been really disappointed about. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a nice vacation scene using pastels here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with yellow. This is going to be like a sunrise scene. Nice warm colors here. So we're going to start out, I turn my page sideways because I'm right-handed. So right side up, I just turn it like this. And I'm creating for myself sort of a border of where this goes here. Inside there, I'm going to fill it in with my pastel. Now, I don't have to sit there and fill it really, 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 like every little dot in there. I can go through and just layer, always going in the same direction. Just like when you're coloring with pencil crayons and crayons, you want to go in the same direction. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. That's when the tissue paper comes in and it blends it so beautifully. I got this idea from a video that I saw on Facebook. It was by Deepak Arts and Crafts. He does a lot of these pastel videos, and they are beautiful. So I'm just taking an image or a video that he did, and I'm breaking it down even further because I find the videos go really fast, and break it down a little bit further so that people of all ages can do it. So there we go. I have my yellow to start here, and I can just try and even out my edges, but it really doesn't matter all that much. So that is step one. Next step here is I'm going to take my other two warm colors, my orange and my red, and I'm going to layer them up here. So I'm going to start out with my orange. I'm going to do a strip of orange on the top and the bottom, and then that other piece at the very top and very bottom is going to be my red. I don't need to worry about overlapping these right now. Right now it kind of just looks like I'm doing some stripes on my page. Nothing too exciting here. It's what we do after that really makes it pop. Again, keeping it in the same direction. If there's any big white spots, definitely fill them in, but it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect because the blending does all that work for you. Now, lastly, I have my red. You'll notice this sort of mirrors each other, right? So we have yellow, orange, red. That's so that we can create a look of a reflection in the water. If you've ever gotten up really early and looked at the sunrise and you get these nice warm colors. Alrighty, so I have my pastel base. So this is the fun part here. This is where we get to use our tissue paper. So I've just ripped off some and I've folded it up. And we now get to blend all these colors together. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start in the middle in the yellow. We're gonna blend that first, and then we're gonna start bringing in the orange and blend that, and then we're gonna do the red last. So we're gonna start from the middle and work out. You'll see all those little white pieces there. All those little white spots are starting to disappear. Now, if you find it's not blending very well, I'm noticing some areas are not super dark. I can go through and I can add a bit more in there. That's okay, I've overlapped a bit. I want to make sure I'm taking it all the way to the edge. Don't forget about those corners there. And now I'm going to start bringing in my orange. I'm going to do the same on this side. Remember, I want to work in. Now my orange as well, looks like I might need a little bit more in there. Just going to add a little bit more and blend it in. And I start to get that really lovely sunset look. When I blend, I don't want to see any more of the white there. So I can rip off a little bit more paper if I need to. And I can do my best to fill all those spots in. Now that I'm ready to move into the red, I need to not go back to the yellow. So I have to be happy with how my yellow looks before I go into the red. So because the red blends with the orange here. It doesn't really blend with the yellow at all. So I'm just going to add a little bit more red here. Just makes it a little bit easier for blending. And I don't want it to be harsh lines. That's the other thing. I don't want the lines between my colors to be like red, orange, yellow, orange, red. I want them to look like that beautiful soft sunset that we see if we were on vacation somewhere, you know, tropical and beautiful. If there's any spots that you notice need a little bit more, you can just go back through with that color and then just make sure you blend it again. Okay, the yellow I'm noticing might need a little bit more in the middle here. And I'm going to need a different piece of tissue paper because I don't want to spread red through the middle there. Okay, alrighty, so here we go. I have now my background to my sunset as well as the reflection in the water below. Our next step here is going to be to create our horizon line. This is where we get into drawing our islands, our palm trees, all those beautiful things. If it helps you for inspiration to watch Moana while you're doing this, you go right ahead, not only because it is my absolute favorite movie, but also because it feels very Moana-y. So what we're going to do is, I grabbed a piece of paper towel here. This is for my hand. I don't want to rest my hand in the oil pastel because then my hands are going to be a disaster. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out by drawing a line through just about the center of our yellow portion here. And I want to make sure that is relatively straight here. Okay, so now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be drawing myself some island mountains along here. So again, when we draw mountains, they're not zigzags. Just like in another mountain video I did, they are pretty rounded. And then they're going to trail off into the sunset here, or sunrise. Okay, so I have some rough outlines of some islands here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my charcoal pencil and I'm going to color those in. So they end up being a silhouette. They end up being just like, just the outline of them. And the focal point is really this amazing colorful background here. So here we go. Now I have Motunui in the background, or if you're not into Moana, just a regular island in the background there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my graphite pencil or pencil, and I'm going to create some rocks protruding into the water, layered sort of in front of my mountains here. So I'm going to start out up here because it's going to appear that these rocks are closer than the islands in the background here. So it's going to start up high and then it's going to come out into the water here, and it looks like I'm standing on an island looking at another island off in the distance. Alrighty, so now I have my islands in the foreground and the background here, and what I'm going to be doing is with a nice sharpened pencil, I'm going to be drawing some palm trees. Now palm trees grow at that super funny angle sometimes, and they go out on this huge angle and they curve up towards the sky. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it off of our island in the foreground here. And we're going to start out wider at the bottom and work our way into a thinner top there. Then, with my trunk, I'm going to map out where my palm fronds are going to go. So it kind of looks a little bit like a firework. And what I have here is just the base of my palm fronds. So I've done them longer in the front and shorter in the back to create that illusion of depth there. And then what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be filling them in with little short pencil strokes here to get the look of those leaves, those fronds there. Now that I have my palm trees growing up into the sunrise there, I'm going to add myself a couple more little islands, as if the ocean is kind of flowing around the lands here. So I'm going to do a couple little islands here. just to add to the depth of this. I'm going to start about there. I don't know about you guys, but I do not like the sound of charcoal on any surface. If you're like me, I empathize with you. I do like using charcoal for art, but whew, that scritching sound drives me a little bit bonkers. So I'm going to color those in here, and then I'm going to be adding some details to my shaded regions to continue to add some of that depth. So let's speed this up so we can move on to the next step. Alrighty guys, so I went through and I filmed this part and then realized I accidentally clicked off of there. So I'm just going to review this for you. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to take a white pastel now, and your sun is going to be coming up about there. So you want the light to be hitting the right side of all your objects. So essentially what I did was I went through and I added a little bit of white pastel, just very roughly, onto just the right side of my objects. And what this is going to do is it's going to create some shadows here. So right now I have these really rough lines here. Then I'm going to make sure this doesn't have any black graphite pencil on it, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to add, starting big and going smaller, to make it look like the sun is hitting the water there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a tissue paper and I'm going to blend this. I don't want it to be those harsh lines right now. So I'm just going to very carefully blend this with my tissue paper. So I'm not getting these harsh lines, but I am getting that lighter section there that makes it look like the morning sun is hitting it. And then I'm going to use my tissue paper. Just going to fold it so that I get a cleaner portion of it. And I'm going to blend in my white to just lighten up these areas here. It's not going to be harsh lines going down into this triangle. It's just going to be really soft lightening of the colors there to make it look like the morning sun is just bouncing off the water. So that is looking amazing. I got to add some final details through here now. What we're going to be doing, we're going to be adding some details to the clouds. We're going to be adding the sun. So let's figure out what we're going to do next. Now what we're going to do is we need to add some clouds into the sky. Now, if you notice, if you've ever been outside at a sunrise or a sunset, take a look at the clouds. The clouds aren't stark white. They actually look orangey red, and they kind of blend into the sky there. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm just going to do some shapes here. And I'm not going to make them cloud shaped. You know what I'm talking about, right? The whoop, 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 the bumps all the way around. So essentially what I do is I just do the top of the cloud, and then I leave the bottom of it flat there. And I'm going to do that up here too. And the shapes aren't, you know, perfect cloud shapes, right? They almost look like the tops of the mountains there, where they're just sort of jagged type shapes. Then what I'm going to do with the red is I'm going to gently do just the tops. I'm not going to do the underneath. I'm just going to add some detail to the tops of these here. And I'm actually going to add some more clouds throughout. Okay, so I have some clouds in here now, and what I'm going to be doing is just blending them, very gently blending them. So I'm just going to use tissue paper, and I'm going to use it wrapped around my finger. Now, if you have something like a Q-tip or something that you could use to blend these, you could do that too. Just lets you have a little bit more control if you have something more pen shaped. If you have one of those blending pens like we use in class, you can use that, but I don't have one of those with me, so I'm just gonna make do. Then I'm just going to go through and I'm going to kind of mirror the clouds within my water here. Same thing again. I'm going to blend them out a little bit so that you can't really see them. But then you kind of get the reflection in there with the different clouds. So that's our cloud step. This last part here now is just some final details. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using acrylic paint. I've seen also you could use like liquid whiteout if you want, or something like that. I'm going to use acrylic paint to do the sun rising here, and then I'm going to add a little bit more details into the white down here. And my last step is just to add a couple birds flying off in the distance there, and then I am done. So let's zoom through this and you guys can see how this last step goes. My very last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create some darkness on this side of the rocks here, the ones that are closest to me. And the reason I do that is because there's a shadow there. The sun is hitting them from this side. So I'm just going to add just a tiniest little bit of depth in there. And then I'm going to again use my tissue paper to blend it out. Okay, alrighty guys, there we go. Our last step here is we're just going to be taking off the tape. And once we take off the tape, we'll see that it leaves us with this nice frame all the way around it. So let's zoom through that, and then we are officially done. That's it, guys. So here we go. We have this awesome vacation sunrise scene here. And I hope you guys get to go on all those vacations you had planned this year that got postponed when it's safe to do so. Really hope you enjoy making this. When you're done, just be careful. The pastel will still get on your fingers. So when you hold it, when you touch it, just make sure you don't stick your fingers in the pastel. Otherwise, you'll be tracking pastel all over the place. Okay, guys, let me know when you are done it. Send me a picture. I want to see what you guys have come up with. Have a great rest of your day, guys.